The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
Hey everybody, welcome to Canary Cry News Talk. It is January 16th, 2019. And this week, Kanye millions, CERN billions, and the GovCloud. My name is Gonz. Basil is out. Last week, we had planned to record like we normally do, but he was stuck in a dentist chair, and it took a lot longer than he'd expected because apparently he had half of his face replaced by robot machine with Flippy. I don't know. But anyway, he was unable to make it last week, and so we sort of dropped the ball on that. So we apologize, but we're back on track here. Just keep the ball rolling. And there's a lot of stories I need to get to, but before we do, just want to say thank you for joining us, and thank you for your patience. We appreciate all of your support, people on Patreon, on all the different platforms. I'm going to be broadcasting this on my YouTube channel as well, Facelikethesun. I just had the privilege to speak to John B. Wells for an interview with Caravan to Midnight. So that was a lot of fun. Look for that. And of course, Age of Deceit 3 is coming March 1st. That's the target. And yes, there's a typo in the trailer. It's embarrassing. But anyway, make sure to also go to facebook.com/Canary Cry Community. Check everything out there, as well as twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. We're getting ready to do our first video game live stream, and that is also scheduled for near future. We have all the tools now. We just got to really sit down and do it, figure out the broadcast live button. Make sure to go to visit canarycrynewstalk.com as well to get all of the show notes and extra links, an ag of links every single week, stories that didn't make the episode. So check that out. I got updates to get to, and there's plenty of stuff to talk about here. And there was a recent conference that happened with a bunch of new tech devices and gadgets and stuff, and I think we'll try to cover that when Basil gets back. But this week, I wanted to start with a TechCrunch.com, just an update, really. It's not really a full article, but robot delivery dogs deployed by self-driving cars are coming. And it says here, let's hope you're not afraid of dogs, because if Continental gets its way, autonomous robot dogs are going to be delivering your packages at the Consumer Electronics Show today. I guess that this is from the show. But anyway, Continental unveiled its Black Mirror-esque vision for how driverless vehicles can autonomously deploy bots to facilitate last-mile deliveries. And they got a couple photos here of these, I don't know, looks like kind of like a pod car parked on the sidewalk, and a bunch of robot dogs jumping out of it and moving around with their cargo on their backs there. My first thought when I saw this was the drone delivery thing didn't work, right? They're trying to like make drones useful, especially, especially during the time when Obama was doing his thing with the drones, right? It's kind of weird that, they were like, oh yeah, we can use drones for delivering packages and stuff. And, the talk was there anyway. And some of it is, they've tried to deploy it in certain places. We've covered that. But, maybe it wasn't friendly enough. People needed something a little more, down to earth. And so how about an autonomous vehicle that pulls up to the sidewalk? Robot dogs jump out, 4 or 5 of them that carry your whatever package, and they deliver it right to your door. This is the vision they have here. Quote, with the help of robot delivery, Continental's vision for seamless mobility can extend right to your doorstep. Our vision of cascaded robot delivery leverages a driverless vehicle to carry delivery robots, creating an efficient transport team. Continental Head of Systems and Tech, Chassis and Safety Division Ralph Loxman said in a press release, both are electrified, both are autonomous, and in principle, both can be based on the same scalable technology portfolio. These synergies create an exciting potential for holistic delivery concepts using similar solutions for different platforms. Beyond this technology foundation, it's reasonable to expect a whole value chain to develop in this area. So, there you go. This is just a quick update. I guess it's kind of in the realm of a flippy update, although the same technology is utilized, just not for one arm. It's used for 4 legs of a canine-esque machine robot. But let's move on here. This next one, I really have to, this is another update. I have to apologize for my peoples here, my ethnic peoples, the Japanese. Just unnecessary creepiness, my fellow Japanese folk over there. This is from japansauce.net. Never heard of this website here, but there you go, japansauce.net. Japanese person develops USB that uses a small fish design as storage. And people on the YouTube channel can see the video of, or at least the images here of this. It's basically a vial, and it's kind of cool looking. It's a little glass vial, and it's got a little corkscrew on the tip of it that covers the USB plug there, and then within the glass tube or the wirings for the USB, and then the fish, which I'll get into here in a second. And what sounds like something out of a page of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Japanese Twitter user at ni28_xp has announced the development of a USB drive that uses a small fish as storage space. However, after additional reports confirmed, the fish is only being used for design purposes. Aw, too bad. He's a chemistry student currently studying resins. He noted that it is a handmade USB memory drive that allows you to see various electronic parts connected to a small fish, which has been captured in a transparent resin. The small fish, of course, is dead, but this technology allows him to utilize the fish as part of his design. And don't worry, PETA, the fish used in these USB drives are silver striped round herrings that come from the local neighborhood supermarket and were already designed or destined to become future meals for people. Yes, I've had these. I grew up in a Japanese American home, folks. My mother bought bags of the stuff to chew on, and I never really liked it. It's too chewy. You can't really take it down very. I don't know why. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But it looks better in a USB drive. So if anybody is interested, maybe Canary Cry Radio will bring back our USB campaign, but this time we'll have some dried fish as part of the USB design. I don't know. Okay, enough of that. Moving on here. This is a good story that, again, one more update before we get into the stuff. Good stuff, main stuff. This is Business Insider. 25-year-old Kenyan invests smart gloves that convert sign language movements into audio speech. More than 30 million people around the globe have speech impairments and must rely on sign language. Roy Alila's 6-year-old niece was born deaf and found it extremely difficult to communicate with her family, none of whom knew sign language. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and the need to communicate and connect with her niece pushed 25-year-old Roy to invent the smart gloves. And there's just virtual gloves there, and it's got interfaces with the screen, and you can make the sign language, and it turns into audio text. And I feel like this is long overdue, this technology. It just feels like this is something that should have happened a while ago. But here we go. The sign language becoming audio, something that I think, folks who are deaf would use to be able to communicate. And I think it's useful. So maybe a positive thing happening with the technology space. Okay, let's get into the main stuff here. And I apologize, I don't have my soundboard. Actually, I do, but it's not as fun doing it solo. It feels weird doing it solo, but here we go.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
This is an article by Art Forum. Kanye West donates $10 million to James Turrell's Rodin Crater project. Rapper Kanye West announced today that he plans to give $10 million to the Turrell Art Foundation in support of the unfinished Rodin Crater project, artist James Turrell's ambitious land artwork, an extinct volcano in the Painted Desert near Flagstaff, Arizona, that he has been transforming into a series of rooms and tunnels since the 1970s. Kelly Crow of the Wall Street Journal reports that West visited Rodin Crater with Turrell on December 11th an experience that the musician called life-changing. West also toured the 75-year-old artist's Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art exhibition Into the Light on December 27th. In the statement issued by West today, he said that he decided to contribute to the project so that it could be, quote, experienced and enjoyed for eternity. In response, Terrell said that he was thrilled to receive such a major gift at a critical juncture of the project. He is currently working with ASU, that's Arizona State University, to fundraise $200 million in order to help him realize his vision and open the site to the public in the next 5 years. The artist's aims to turn the 2.5-mile wide crater into a cultural hub that will eventually feature an amphitheater and host a residency program. And for people watching on YouTube, I will show some of the images of his artwork. Very interesting. He's trying to build basically a community, a living quarters of around some of these structures. This spring, the university, which will serve as a long-term steward of the site, will bring more than 80 faculty members and students to the crater as part of a pilot program. It hopes to eventually fully integrate the project into the academic curriculum of its Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts, School of Sustainability, School of Earth and Space Exploration, and School of Social Transformation. Oh boy. Does that cover all the pillars of society? I mean, come on. Quote, it is our intention to work with partners across the state and country to complete, preserve, and share one of Arizona's and the nation's most renowned cultural and physical assets, ASU said in a statement, quote, an extraordinarily important global art phenomenon, Rodin Crater represents an achievement, an experience that will meaningfully contribute to the global arts conversation and attract visitors from around the world. So keeping in mind what the agenda is for this piece of art, I wanted to describe for everybody listening, and those of you watching on video can actually see it, the artwork itself and the messaging going on in this artwork. You can go to rodincrater.com to take a look at these. The first one I want to talk about is the East Portal, which from the outside is just this hole in the ground with a little tiny staircase leading up to it. Once you enter the hole, there is a staircase that leads straight down to the edge of the circular room or the inside of the cylinder. That's, most of it's underground. The doorway that exists right at the bottom of the staircase, which is in the shape of a keyhole. I believe it leads into a hallway that I'll show you guys in a minute here. There is also an image from the perspective of someone that would be standing in that keyhole doorway looking back towards the staircase that you would have just come down on. And the photo clearly shows the staircase looking like a step pyramid, leading up to, at the top of the pyramid, the opening into this cylindrical concoction. And there's also plenty of things for flat earthers to chew on, because at the bottom of the staircase is Earth being represented in this piece of art as a flat circular disc. So there you go. That's the first one I wanted to show you guys, the East Portal. And then the hallway, I believe it attaches to this room called the Alpha East Tunnel. And there are successive images that take you through, walking through the hallway, what you see as you come to the East Portal little cylinder room there. So again, very esoteric in nature. There's more that I would love to get into. There's the Sun-Moon Chamber, the North Spaces, a lot of 3D models. Most of these are still, things that he wants to build. A amphitheater with stage sky space and North Moon space and all kinds of stuff. He also has a room that has a circular room, a cylinder shape, if you will, with a dome top. And at the top or the center of the dome top is an opening, a circular opening where the sun and the moon can shine through and sort of create a sundial or moon dial situation within the room. Kind of cool, I guess, but definitely unnecessary, especially given all of the societal plans and agendas that are behind this thing. I feel like this is something that Again, initiating the masses, getting everybody into this worldview to prepare for something. They're getting ready to prepare everybody for something. They have been for a long time. So this is another step in that direction. Nothing new under the sun. $10 million. Thank you, Kanye West. Hey, but guess what? Not even close. Not even close to the 21 billion euros that CERN is laying out as a plan for their next Large Hadron Collider, a super collider. This is nature.com. Next generation LHC CERN says out plans for 21 billion euro super collider. 21 billion euros is roughly almost 24 million or $1 billion US dollars. It says here CERN has unveiled its bold dream to build a new accelerator nearly 4 times as long as its 27-kilometer LHC, currently the world's largest. The European Particle Physics Laboratory outside Geneva, Switzerland, outlined the plan in a technical report on the 15th of January. The document offers several preliminary designs for a future circular collider, the FCC. Now, come on. Why are they naming this the FCC? Maybe the old FCC is going away, and they're going to replace it with the new FCC, right? Think about it. The FCC is the Federal Communications Commission. And so the United States has their FCC, but now the world, they have their FCC that they want to create, except it's not a thing. It's a giant portal. All right. So anyway, the FCC, which would be the most powerful particle smasher ever built, with different types of colliders ranging in cost from around 9 billion euros to 21 billion euros. It is the lab's opening bid in a priority-setting process over the next 2 years called the European Strategy Update for Particle Physics, and it will affect the field's future well into the second half of the century. Quote, it's a huge leap, like planning a trip not to Mars, but to Uranus. Seriously, that's not a joke. That's what he said. Says Gianfrancesco Giudice, who heads CERN's theory department and represents CERN in the physics preparatory group of the strategy exercise. Lots of fancy words there, fancy titles for Mr. Gianfrancesco Giudice. After the LHC's historic discovery of the Higgs boson in 2012, the collider has not discovered any new particles. This points to a need to push energies as high as possible. Giudice says, quote, today, exploring the highest possible energies with bold projects is our best hope to crack some of the mysteries of nature at the most fundamental levels. Okay, let me pause for a second there. You have the head of CERN's theory department coming out and saying, this is not like going to Mars. This is like going to Uranus. Okay, and then he says that, oh, we haven't discovered any new particles since 2012. Therefore, we need more power. We must have more power. Why? To crack some of the mysteries of nature at the most fundamental levels. I mean, this is like the science fiction villain is what this is. Let me keep going. The potential for a machine such the FCC is very exciting, says Halina Abramovitz. Okay, interesting. A physicist at Tel Aviv University who heads that European strategy process. Of course, she adds that the FCC's potential will be discussed in depth and compared to other proposed projects. The CERN Council, there's a CERN Council, which includes scientists and government delegates from member countries, will then make the final decision on whether to fund the project. Too pricey? Not everyone is convinced the super collider is a good investment. That's me. Hello, I don't think it's a good investment. Quote, there's no reason to think that there should be new physics in the energy regime that such a collider would reach, says Sabine Hassenfelder, a theoretical physicist at Frankfurt Institute for Advanced Studies in Germany. Quote, that's the nightmare that everyone has on their minds, but doesn't want to speak out. Hassenfelder says that the large sums involved might be better spent on other types of fusion facilities. For example, she says that placing a major radio telescope on the far side of the moon or a gravitational wave detector in orbit would be safer bets in terms of return on science. This is like the battle of the elite. This is the battle of the technocrats. Meanwhile, 1 in 8 in the world still don't have access to clean water, but we want to spend 20 billion euros or $24 billion just about to make a giant colliding machine thing, or to not do that. Oh, we should use the money instead for moon bases and gravitational wave detectors. All right, we live in sci-fi world here. But Michael Benedict, a CERN physicist who led the FCC report, says that such a facility would be worth building regardless of the expected scientific outcome. Quote, these kind of large-scale efforts and projects are huge starters for networking, connecting institutes across borders. Of course, they want to do that, and countries. All these things together make up a very good argument for pushing such unique science projects. So there you go. They get into some options here with different nuances, and then China as their main competitor in particle physics and colliders and stuff. This kind of thing really is probably going to lead to unleashing some crazy technologies. The infrastructure, again, the fourth industrial revolution is being led instead of like nuclear power. It's these colliders that are supposedly giving science all this promise and information to deconstruct creation so as to control it. It all ties into all of the stories that we cover here, including this last one that I wanted to get to in the regular episode here, and that is from Fortune.com. Amazon Web Services just opened a new cloud for the U.S. government. And this actually is a little bit older of an article, but it was in one of our cyclical things there. So, it was November 2018. Amazon Web Services has opened a new region of interconnected data centers specifically for the U.S. government and its various contractors. Amazon's cloud computing arm said Monday that its so-called GovCloud region is now operating live in an unspecified area on the East Coast. The new government cloud region comes 7 years after Amazon's first West Coast government cloud region debuted in 2011. Unlike traditional data centers, cloud computing and big internet companies like Microsoft and Facebook typically operate clusters of interconnected data centers that essentially act as one big facility. Teresa Carlson, AWS Vice President of the Worldwide Public Sector, said that one of the reasons the company built a new government cloud was to let government agencies and their third-party contractors maintain duplicate copies of their data and apps. In the case that a problem occurs in one facility, the other data center facility can pick up the slack. This is really the basics of decentralization, to not have a single point of failure. That's basically what they're talking about. But it's all enclosed in their own system, even though Amazon and Facebook and all these other companies, Microsoft, they're still operating on private networks or intranets, I believe they're called. I guess those are the primitive forms. But anyway, moving on here, Amazon's opening of a new government cloud highlights the effort of big tech companies to score big federal contracts as the government attempts to modernize to newer IT technologies. For instance, Amazon built the CIA its own separate cloud data center region and is in the process of bidding against companies like Oracle and Microsoft for a $10 billion joint enterprise defense infrastructure, JEDI, cloud contract with the Pentagon. Yeah, the Pentagon is currently looking into hiring one of these companies for a $10 billion JEDI program. Carlson said that the new government cloud data center region is separate from Amazon's bidding on the JEDI contract. Some of Amazon's competitors in selling on-demand computing resources to the federal government include Microsoft, IBM, and Google, said Adelaide O'Brien. International Data Corporations researched, such a close word there that means so different, Corporations Research Director of Government Digital Transformation Strategies. Later in the article, it says, as for the data that the government should potentially regulate the use of artificial intelligent technologies because the tech could lead to unforeseen consequences, Carlson believes that too much regulation could stifle the tech industry from innovating. It's a contrast to Microsoft President Brad Smith, who has urged the government to regulate the use of facial recognition technology, and that both the public and private sector should develop standards around how to use the tech. And yeah, this is an ongoing thing. The problem with, how much, because we're just collecting data, how much of it is private, how much of it is public, how much is owned by the people that are actually providing the data, how much is owned by us. And, this struggle is the reason why even the internet infrastructure, there's a good chance that is also going to change, or at least begin to change incrementally over the next few years, few decades or whatever, because, there are different, this is the reason why Bitcoin came about, right? If we're going to talk about one example, not as a solution to anything really, it's being provided as a solution. And the more I look at it, the more it's pretty apparent that this is something that, you might want to label, quote unquote, white hats may have come up with to take down the Federal Reserve. It's possible, but even then, it's one of those things where it reminds me of that, that famous idiom, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, because while, freeing ourselves from the current system is something that we need to do and would definitely liberate a lot of people from poverty and things like that, it's certainly leading to also the potential for a worldwide scale type of enslavement that, is tied to the infrastructure directly now, more and more because of the biometrics and all that stuff, but also to commerce and to our minds, which means worship and that sort of thing, which everything that's described in Revelation 13. That's been my kind of thing that I've been getting on the soapbox for, is like, hey, this stuff is great and also extremely dangerous about where it's headed. So, let's be transparent about what we're doing, and let's actually build things that are going to help fulfill Matthew 24:14, which is that the gospel will reach the ends of the earth. Let's ride the wave of these types of technological innovations and distribution of these technologies to make sure that the gospel is in there and also accessible within that infrastructure that's built until it becomes, illegal, eradicated, whatever happens, whatever way it looks and plays out in the real world. We can at least know that there is an escape from all of it, and it's at a higher level than just the material. We can prepare materially, but ultimately it goes to a spiritual level that is more important here, the eternal perspective on things. So anyway, I wanted to go ahead and end the podcast there. Let's see. Remember to go visit all the things that we talk about. The website, canarycryradio.com, canarycrynewstalk.com, facebook.com/canarycrycommunity, twitch.tv/canarycryradio, youtube.com/facelikethesun, also the Joysipracy Theory.com. Boy, we got a lot of things going on. A lot of pans in that oven. But also make sure to remember to tell people about it.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. I will be putting together the extended report in audio right after this, and it will be shared for extended report people of CCNT, and I'll share it with patrons of Face Like the Sun as well. I know it's kind of a cross-platform exclusivity thing happening there, but that's how this episode is going to work. So have an awesome day, and remember to think outside the cage.